Baby, please don't touch the sword. You know you're not allowed to touch it.
I was gonna make him climb it.
No, do not touch the sword. We go over this almost every single time.
Then don't put it here.
Hey June, guess what?
What?
Did you hear the news?
No.
There's another Spider-Man.
Another? Yeah.
For the new kids.
This is a terrible
This is what
intro.
we new kids
This
like.
This is a terrible intro. Just roll it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Night at the Movies. My name's Greg, this is June, and tonight we watched Spider-Man Homecoming.
Finally, here we go.
Good evening, Peter. Whoa. You have 576 possible web shooter combinations.
That is awesome. I can keep that suit?
Yeah, doesn't fit me.
So when's our next retreat?
What, next mission? We'll call you. All right?
It's not a hug. I'm just grabbing the dough for you.
We're not there yet.
All right, kid. Good luck out there.
June didn't actually watch any of the previous Spider-Man movies, so I felt that she needed to be caught up. So we basically power watched all 5 Spider-Man movies in, 2 days?
Too much Spider-Man.
Let's go through a quick quiz to see if June remembers any of them.
Oh wait, do you want to do this in the beginning, but then put a timestamp? Tell people like we talk about the new one at here, so skip here if you want to hear our
Sure.
review. Say that.
You just did.
You are skip here to see the review of the new Spider-Man.
Starting back with the original one that kind of kicked off the huge superhero craze that we experience now. Spider-Man.
Those were good. I liked them. They were good.
You like the whole trilogy?
No.
You kind of petered off on me during the third one.
My attention span was being tested through a lot of this. The first one wasn't bad. The second one was good. The third one was not.
What do you remember from the first one?
The first one, the origin story and everything was really good. He made a really good Peter Parker. He was very believable.
Tobey Maguire, you mean?
Yeah, he was very believable in that role, and to me, he is Spider-Man. He was like the perfect Peter Parker, but as for Spider-Man, it was kind of weak.
He made an amazing Peter Parker, even though he looked a little too old for the part.
Everyone in the high school looked like 40. What's up, Peter Parker? I'm like, how old is this kid? I remember when
The high school bully.
He's like breaking up with Mary Jane or whatever, and you're like, it's okay, he was way too old for it anyway.
The original Spider-Man trilogy was kind of like lightning in a bottle, though, because Sony took a huge risk. They put Sam Raimi in charge, and Sam Raimi is like, he's a fucking nutbar. His fingerprints are all over the trilogy. It's got so much character.
I can tell.
His personality is in it. Like, he even has like his cars in it and his chairs, like Norman Osborn's chair, and like he really puts himself in these movies. We don't see this kind of thing, especially with superhero movies, and we didn't see it again until James Gunn was given the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy.
I didn't know who Sam Raimi was. And when we were watching the first Spider-Man trilogy, I noticed there was like a lot of like horror elements, like horror movie elements.
Yeah.
And I was like, is the director a horror movie director? And you're like, yeah, it's Sam Raimi. And I had no idea. And you could tell because there was a lot of like, the way he directed the scene in the hospital.
That's one of the best sequences in superhero movie history. There's always these telltale signs of a Sam Raimi movie. My favorite is that Sam Raimi always shows a woman center screen screaming right at the camera. He does that in almost every movie he's ever made.
You love your women screaming.
The movies are also a little bit camp. Like, it feels almost like they've been pulled right out of the comic books. Especially
Yeah.
like in the first movie, there's the parade scene. That movie's like a cartoon.
That was something when we were watching it, I was like, this is so cartoony. Like, compared to all the Marvel movies coming out now, I looked over to you and was like, this is the most cartoony, cheesy thing ever. And you're like, I know, it's awesome.
They don't take themselves too seriously. Yet at the same time, it still feels like it's serious and that there's consequences to the actions. Yeah, unlike modern, like DC especially. Oh my god.
DC.
Super.
I don't like DC. Can
Yeah.
I just tell you?
Yeah.
I liked Wonder Woman. I liked Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight.
Dark Knight Rises was good. The Dark Knight is one of the best superhero movies, best movies ever.
But DC just like, I don't know what it is. It's the trying too hard. It's the cheesiness.
Apparently, Zack Snyder
Yeah,
is
it's
using
the Zack
Ayn
Snyder,
is
that's-
using Ayn Rand as inspiration to write the continuity of the DC universe. I'm not even joking. Fucking
I don't like
look
Zack
it up.
Snyder.
Google it. I'm not even. This isn't a joke. I'm not lying. Zack Snyder is using Ayn Rand as inspiration for the DC cinematic universe.
That's what it is. It's trying too hard to be deep. And like when people don't like it, the critics are just like, you just don't understand, man.
Right.
It's like, no, the movie's just shit. It's like, sorry, get over it.
Admiration of self and being completely selfish. We'll probably cut all that out.
Yeah, just
Anyways,
yeah, just, you don't have to
we're
go into
it's a
that.
Spider-Man movie review, and we're talking about Ayn Rand. This is awesome. Thanks, Zack Snyder.
Fuck you.
It's very much like the Star Wars trilogy. First movie's good. Second movie's one of the best movies ever made. And then the third one is like, why does this exist?
Why does that happen with like movies? The first one's good, the second one's amazing, the third one kind of sucks.
Same thing with the Godfather trilogy. It follows. And then X-Men trilogy, same thing.
Star Wars?
Yeah, I said Star Wars already.
No, you
Do
didn't.
you remember? I said just like the Star Wars trilogy. Do you never fucking listen to me? I mean, that's not a rule, but it seems like it's a very common pattern with good trilogies.
Not The Land Before Time, though.
That's not a trilogy, there's like 47 of those. The third movie's not as bad as everybody says it is, because after going back and revisiting it, I realized that even though it has its problems, it's still a Sam Raimi movie. And it still has tons of character, and even though the whole ending is paced and ordered completely wrong, in a movie where we're supposed, like, Peter's motivation is that he found his uncle's real killer, that he has to have a cathartic, like, ending moment with Venom at the end, which completely detracts from the entire story.
Yeah.
That aside, the movie's actually decent. The thing that was consistently terrible in all three Spider-Man movies was James Franco.
James Franco. I don't know what to say about James Franco, I don't even remember.
All of his lines were like, hey buddy. He had his best moments and his worst moments in Spider-Man 3 though. When he was like evil, he was believable. Especially when he had the scar on his face and he was like pissed at Spider-Man. I believed him. But then after that, he's like, we're buddies again. Okay.
Okay.
So now, after that, of course, we quickly moved over to The Amazing Spider-Man, which was supposed to not only be a trilogy, it was supposed to be a whole cinematic universe. June, describe The Amazing Spider-Man.
Cancer AIDS.
Okay, Andrew Garfield.
He was a good Spider-Man. Oh! He was the worst. He was the worst Peter Parker ever. He had a skateboard. He was like a cool kid, but also like a smart nerd.
He was too cool for school and also accelerating at school.
They were like, hey, loser. But then he was also like, later, bros. Like, pick one. You can't be this cool skateboarder kid and then also like the nerd that gets bullied. There are the few exceptions of a cool, like, attractive nerd, but they're rare. Peter Parker was supposed to be just like some sciencey nerd. Oh, the high school shit in that movie was so lame and stupid. When he was like dunking on the guy in basketball, he was like, take it, bro. He's like, oh. I was like, oh my. Oh, and his parents. They had stuff about his parents in
Right.
it. And it was like the lamest, ham-fisted shit ever, and it didn't need to be there. It was just like, this is how his parents died. And it was like the lamest shit, and his dad was like a spider doctor or something.
Yeah. I don't know why Peter's dad had to be the one that made the formula that turned him into Spider-Man.
Because I guess that Spider-Man had no like story of his parents, and they were like, we're gonna make.
But why does he need one though?
He doesn't, but they wanted to be the movie that does it.
The villain?
What?
The lizard.
The lizard? The Ninja Turtle? Oh my god, that's when I lost interest. As soon as I saw how the badly ass CGI'd animated shit, the fucking Ninja Turtle.
I'll admit that I didn't make her watch the whole movie. I think we stopped watching before the third act.
Yeah, we stopped. As soon as I saw the Ninja Turtle, I was like, I can't.
You know what it is I love about being Spider-Man? Everything.
So then we moved on to The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I made her watch the whole thing.
It was worse.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is like lightning in a bottle for the exact opposite reason. Everything that could possibly go wrong with a movie went wrong with it. What was the plot of Amazing Spider-Man 2?
I just remember a clusterfuck. I don't remember anything. There was like 20 villains. There's 3 stupid villains, right?
Right.
What were they again?
Rhino.
Oh, Rhino at the end.
Right.
Like the very end.
Electro.
Electro.
And then
Okay,
another Green Goblin.
This was the stupidest superhero origin I've ever seen in my life. Fucking Electro. It was like a parody of superheroes. He's like fixing something in electricity, and there's electric eels under him, and he falls in a tank of electric eels, and the electric eels electrocute him, and then he becomes like electricity man.
Pigby. He fell in a vat of electric eels.
No, he would probably just die.
I don't know what's the problem with that. And then, of course, Harry Osborn, the third. It starts off with a really stupid thing with the parents where they have to send something off on a computer. And that's pointless. That didn't need to be in the movie at all. The plane
Oh my god, the
crash.
tone shift.
Yeah.
The tone shift of when the plane is crashing. And it's like the scariest scene ever. I had like anxiety attack. And then all of a sudden a Spider-Man swooping through the city like doo 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 doo. I was like,
that Spider-Man scene is the one good scene in the movie though.
my interpretation of that entire movie is that they knew the movie was gonna flop, and like their plan was to make a whole bunch of these movies, but they knew it wasn't gonna do good, so they just rushed everything into one movie, and it was just like, here's like 3 villains and like 12 different plots in one, and
well,
that's what it feels.
there's nothing that connects any of the scenes together. There's no narrative. There's no plot. Do you want to talk about Gwen Stacy dying?
No.
I'll let you talk about Gwen Stacy dying.
No! You warned me that it was gonna be the cringy shit ever, and I didn't believe you. She's falling down this like clock tower. Fuck, I don't even want to talk about it. This is like stressing me out. I hate this. Why does this exist? She's falling. I can't even say it. It's in my head and I'm laughing. Okay. She's falling down the clock tower, and he shoots a web, and the fucking web turns into like a hand and goes. It's this.
One finger at a time.
And I told him if you ever want to piss me off, just go like this randomly.
Hey, Peter, you coming tonight? I can't tonight. I got the Stark internship. What's up, guys? Mr. Stark, here's my report for tonight. I stopped the Grand Theft bicycle. Hey, could you do me a favor? Hold on to that. Is this anybody's bike? Oh, I helped this old lady, and she bought me a churro. So, that was nice.
So going in to Spider-Man Homecoming, in my mind, I felt like it didn't have to just be better than the Amazing Spider-Man movies. It had to contend with Spider-Man 2. When I was walking in that door, I think I was saying this to you. Like, if this movie isn't at least as good as Spider-Man 2, it shouldn't have even existed. Don't even make another Spider-Man. The politics behind its existence, it's very interesting. Marvel Studios, who did Iron Man and Thor and the Avengers and all that, they produced it while Sony maintained the license. So Sony got to do all the distribution. That's why Sony and Columbia Pictures are the first things you see. And then like 5 minutes into the film, they show you the Marvel logo. Like they wanted them to be very separate. They didn't want, I'll admit I was one of those people that was a little upset that Spider-Man wouldn't have made it into the Avengers, and then was very happy to find out Marvel was gonna grab the license for at least a few films. I think they might be doing one more, Spider-Man Homecoming 2. What were you expecting walking in the door?
I was expecting another Avengers Marvel type movie, and that's exactly what it was.
It was another flat, predictable, but at the same time well-made, well-paced, perfect film.
If this movie came out like a few years ago, our minds would be blown. We'd be like, oh my God, this is such a cool Marvel movie. There's been so many cool Marvel movies that it's almost just like predictable now.
Yeah, that's
almost
sad.
Almost boring. Like it's still really fun and entertaining, but like it's like, oh, you know, this is Iron Man, but he's in a Spider-Man suit.
I didn't feel like anything surprised me. There was only one thing that happened in the movie that I was like actually surprised by, a reveal of who the villain was.
Oh, yeah, me too. But overall, it was really fun, and it was a really good Spider-Man. Like he made a really good Spider-Man. I think he was better than Tobey Maguire. What do you think? I think he was better. He was more. Yeah. He was definitely a kid.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the high schoolers were actually high schoolers.
Yeah, he was more believable as a high schooler. Yeah. I liked all the high school stuff, like the way that they showed the high school news, and like the kids were like overly awkward.
Okay. So the high school news was like one of the like Tim and Eric kind of video where it was like badly green screened and the font was Comic Sans and the kids were awkward. They were like, yeah. And then it would go close to their face. Oh my God, we were cracking up. So like, everything in the high school was made really, really well. Like they did a solid job on his high school life and like everything like that. I thought that was good. I thought he made a really good Peter Parker. He was like awkward, nerdy, funny, like witty.
He made a good Spider-Man too.
Yeah.
So I think he kind of bridged the gap problem that we had with Tobey Maguire, who was excellent as Peter Parker, and Andrew Garfield, who was, I would argue, a little bit better at being Spider-Man than Tobey Maguire was. This kid was the whole package.
Yeah, perfect Spider-Man, perfect Peter. It was a good movie, it was. We're used to the Avengers and like what they do. They fight these giant evil monsters, they fight aliens, like they save the world.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man was literally just like dealing with weapons heists and stuff like that. And
Tony Stark kept trying to say, try to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
And that's basically what this movie was. He was dealing with very like local stuff.
Stay close to the ground.
Yeah,
like,
the
kid's from Queens, and Queens, like compared to the city, it's not the city, it's Queens. So he basically used to stick in his neighborhood, and it wasn't an origin story. They show a little bit of like a home video of him basically cataloging everything that he did with the Civil War. That was interesting, but it wasn't an origin story. The kid was already established, he was already famous, but at the same time, he was still a fucking rookie. So he wasn't confident on tall buildings, like the Washington Monument. He thought he was gonna die. You get the feeling like, there's that one scene where he's trying to chase a van through a neighborhood and he's like busting everybody's gates down and ruining everybody's garden, and like he splashes in a pool because he doesn't know what he's doing. He really is just like a rookie kid.
There was a lot of scenes in this movie that actually scared me. Can I talk about that for a second? There was a boat scene where the boat was almost sinking. He was on the Washington Monument where like you actually felt the vertigo of like the height. Oh my God, that was actually terrifying in 3D.
I felt like I was gonna fall.
I had to look away. I looked at you a few times. I was just like, all right, I can't look at the screen. There's a plane crashing scene. A lot of tension in this movie too, especially between the villain and Spider-Man. Wow. There was a scene in there where you felt the tension and you were like uncomfortable and you're just like, oh my God, you just like want to get out of the scene, like you want to leave.
I just feel like I could be doing more. Wait a minute. You guys aren't the real Avengers. Hulk gives it away. New move I'm working on? Not bad.
I actually thought Michael Keaton did a fucking amazing job as the villain. He seemed like he was clearly a very skilled, very smart, like blue-collar kind of guy. His motivation is that he was making money. He was as part of the alien cleanup crew in New York City, which is apparently something that was still going on. Tony Stark's crew comes in and just takes over. So he's like pissed at Tony Stark and pissed at the Avengers because like his meal ticket was essentially taken away.
So he's basically just like a blue-collar guy mad at the rich people.
He's managing to like still salvage the alien stuff illegally and sells it illegally, and then that's how he ends up becoming the Vulture.
I wasn't sure about him at first in the beginning. I was like, how is this gonna be the villain? His motivation is just that he's mad at the rich people taking gerbs. But wow, like good villain.
Yeah.
Very good villain.
Believable.
Yeah, this whole movie was very believable. A lot of like the scenes and stuff weren't too insane.
The least believable stuff was the alien technology, but unfortunately that stuff we've already had to deal with through the Avengers movies, so it wasn't like universe breaking.
Yeah, Marissa Tomei.
This
motherfucker. Peter literally comes home, right? And you see Marissa Tomei literally just pass, and he goes,
I did not.
yes, you did. You
No,
got
I
so
went like
excited.
this because I was trying to look around Peter. The 3D was very, very realistic. I don't know. Yeah, I always had a thing for her. Ever since my cousin Billy.
Like the realization of what came out of your mouth. God, you're cute. I love you.
Okay, fuck off.
No.
No, actually, I always thought that you were very much like her. I don't know. I always had a thing for New York girls. Peter's friend.
Oh, he was funny.
He was a good comic relief character.
They were cute. They were
Yeah.
a good little.
They were a good
friend.
team.
Yeah.
I like that his job was basically give Peter information over the phone and like try to contact Tony Stark. And then when he got caught like in the school computer lab
yeah.
trying to
He's
find
like-
something else for Peter, and somebody's like, the teacher's like, what are you doing? And he says, looking at porn? I've used that excuse before.
Yeah. He's looking at Star Wars toys, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, porn.
Swear to God, it's porn. I was a little bit worried that Tony Stark would be overused in this movie, and he wasn't. He showed up a few too many times, but
It was kind of cute. He was like a dad figure.
the person that Peter had to look up to and appease, because he had to impress Dad. And Tony even kind of says like, my dad never said nice things to me, so I'm saying nice things to you.
And that was cute when he's like, when Peter was like, I just wanted to be like you, and Tony's like, I want you to be better. That's dad as fuck, Tony.
But at the same time, Peter's like, he's 15. And Tony's given him like a multi-million-dollar tech suit to go fight bad guys that are using alien technology that can like blow you the fuck up.
Yeah.
And Tony feels super, super responsible for Peter, and that's why he ends up clipping his wings
Yeah.
and taking the suit away from him. There was a lot of comedy in this movie.
A lot. Almost
But-
too much sometimes.
Almost too much, but Guardians of the Galaxy 2, like, sorry James Gunn, but there was too many jokes in that movie. Like, there was too much comedy. But this Spider-Man Homecoming, they almost nailed it. I didn't laugh at every joke, but I didn't get tired of
Yeah.
them.
Because I think it was going for more of a family-friendly Deadpool vibe. Like funny.
This sort of got that sort of
Yeah,
vibe.
like-
Yeah, that was always a Spider-Man thing though. Like, he was always a kid, so he'd always say like smart alecky shit when he's fighting people, and that was some of the skill in the writing of Spider-Man throughout the years, is to make him clever and funny and witty. Like that one sequence where he's going out and they're showing his regular rounds that he does every night after school, and he's doing little things, like he stopped a guy from stealing a bike, but he couldn't find the owner, so
Yeah.
he just left the guy that stole it hanging and then left a note with the bike. All the people were like yelling at him like,
Yeah, Martha.
Stanley. That was the
Stanley.
Stanley moment, yeah.
Stanley, Martha, how are you doing? Oh, I'm good. It's so New York. So New York.
That whole sequence was a very New
Super
York.
New York. You could tell, like, Spider-Man, he was just, like, thirsting for, like, crime stopping. Like, he wanted to fight. He wanted to, like go on a mission, and there was just these little things in his neighborhood and that he had to settle for. It was funny.
God, this feels so strange. These weapons are crazy dangerous.
Listen, Peter, there are people who handle this sort of thing. Can't you just be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man?
Let go of me! Let go of me!
Activating parachute.
I feel like it didn't live up to my expectation of being nearly as good as Spider-Man 2. It wasn't, but
Really? I thought it was better.
I-
It was much better.
no, it wasn't as good as Spider-Man 2, but at the same time, I felt like it still deserved to exist because it was different. Like, it didn't have as much character as the Sam Raimi movies. In fact, I felt like it didn't have a character of its own at all. It was still very Marvel-y.
It was still very Avengers. The one big thing I didn't like was how his suit and everything, the way he fought, was almost exactly like Iron Man, but with webs. Was it not?
It wasn't.
He had the robot in his suit, he had all the...
Oh yeah, and then
like-
the fact that he had his own like Jarvis that was like
Yeah,
giving
Karen.
him. Yeah.
And I was just like, this is so Avengers, this is so Iron Man.
Yeah, as soon as they introduced the Karen, the Jarvis that was giving him information when he had the suit on, yeah, I got very frustrated. I said, I hope that this isn't the rest of the movie.
And it was.
And it was. He had this little robot that came out of his chest that like they would follow him around. He's like, okay, Droney. He's like, boo, boo, boo. Okay, Droney, go do over there. Boo, boo, boo.
I was like, this is, maybe I'm just being like, that's not Spider-Man.
That's not Spider-Man.
But it was
It
like,
was Iron
It was
Man.
Iron Man.
That's even
literally what he was.
That, I'm betting, was not a directorial choice. I'm betting that was a studio choice. And speaking of the director, John Watts, okay, this guy, he directed a movie called Cop Car, which looks interesting. It's some thriller. And he's known for participating in The Onion news as a director of The Onion, like, news. He painted by numbers the Marvel formula perfectly. And if that's what Marvel's looking for in their directors now, and I think it is, he painted by numbers perfectly while still making it a fun movie. And that's more than fucking Mark Webb could fucking say.
That's the sad part. They're good. They're fun. They're made amazing. The graphics and everything like that, the musical scores, the direction, like the action is really good in all these movies. But we're gonna see too much of it, and then we're gonna get like bored.
Yeah, speaking of which, the trailer for the new Black Panther movie played.
Oh, yeah, that was
and
cool.
I didn't think that I was gonna give a fuck about it, but
All the African stuff
the movie looks interesting. It's
combined
got,
with the technology.
it's
is, like,
highly stylized, like African heritage stuff. Like it looks like one of the villains has like the big disc in his lip, and
that was sick.
interesting city design too for the futuristic city there.
Yeah, it's all like the African stuff, but like futurized too.
Who should see Spider-Man Homecoming?
People who like superhero movies, people who like Spider-Man, people who like the Avengers especially. If you like the Avengers, see this movie because you'll like it.
If you wanted somebody to redeem the Amazing Spider-Man movies, then this movie will do that for you. If you want somebody to pick up the mantle where Sam Raimi left off, I'm not necessarily sure that'll do it for you.
I think it
June's
was better.
wrong, but I think that Spider-Man 2 is still a superior movie overall.
I think this movie was better than all the other Spider-Mans.
Get the fuck out of my house.
I will. And I'm gonna get Tim Hortons without.
How'd you rate it?
Oh, this is hard because I really liked it, but it was not it was not new, but I liked it. 7.
I was gonna say 6, but yeah, maybe a 7. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get my head around the fact that you like this more than Spider-Man 2, and your problem with
But I
this
think you have
movie is that there's
nostalgia
nothing
goggles
new.
on. I think you have.
No, because I love Sam Raimi. That's what it is. I love his style. I love.
You love the screaming women. There's no screaming women in this.
There are no screaming women in this. Marissa told me I didn't even scream one
Okay.
time.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw and you'd like to see more Armoured Media, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you absolutely love us, you can support us on Patreon, or if you have a passing affection for us, you can buy our merch. Links are in the description.